It's a little after 7 o'clock. Good evening to you if you're just joining us. We are going to do away with headlines for the day because it is after 7. And so let's go straight to one of our conversations that we've lined up for you. The Democratic Alliance in KZN describing its meeting with the National Freedom Party as a step in the right direction while addressing differences in the Government of Provincial Unity. The meeting follows the withdrawal of the NFP from the provincial coalition, threatening its stability. NFP citing the lack of meaningful reviews and accountability for its exit. Let's talk now to the Democratic Alliance's KZN chairperson, Dean McPherson. Mr. McPherson, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. Let's go straight into it without really wasting any time. What came out of that meeting, and have you managed to convince the NFP to think otherwise about leaving the provincial coalition?
Good evening to yourself and to your viewers. I really think that the meeting was constructive and helpful. It allowed the DA to understand the concerns of the NFP. We think that some of those concerns are legitimate, that they ought to be heard. And that's why we said that we are going to be calling a meeting of the partners, including the NFP. We've said from the outset that we believe that the GPU can best function with the full participation of the NFP. So while I think it's early days to say that the NFP has rejoined the Government of Provincial Unity, I think that we both agreed that this is the right pathway to find that possible re-entry and full support. And I think that that's certainly more advancement that we've seen in that front than in the last couple of weeks. So I remain optimistic, my party remains optimistic, but there's still a lot of hard work ahead of us.
Apart from what they have cited publicly, as I said in the introduction, that there's been a lack of meaningful reviews and accountability, this is what they said is the reason for exiting. Are you any clear about what exactly it is that the NFP is dissatisfied about? And take us into the meeting, by the way. Are there any other reasons that you feel can be communicated publicly, which they have chosen to communicate in that meeting?
Well, I'm not a spokesperson for the NFP, and I also want to protect the sanctity of the meeting and the manner in which it was conducted. It was very positive, it was very forthright, and the door is open to further engagement. As I said, I do think that there are some legitimate concerns of the NFP, and I think that we need to discuss those and put those on the table. Let me say that I think that we share possibly some of those concerns as well. And the only way that you can deal with dissatisfaction in a coalition is when parties meet around the table, are able to have honest and frank discussions, and then are able to chart a way forward. Speaking to one another through the media is unhelpful. I think making demands and threats through the media are unhelpful. But also having a space that is conducive to frank discussions is also important. And so we think that that's why the best route is for the partners to sit around the table, to look at what those legitimate concerns are, and also some of the concerns that may not be entirely legitimate, but may be real to the NFP should also be discussed. Because the reality is, in our view, and you know, the GPU remains the best vehicle for growth and jobs in the province, but that GPU is in trouble without the NFP, and that's why we are very keen to see them come back, come on board, and see how those differences can be ironed out.
The member of their party, who is a MEC in the province, she leads the social development department. What is her status post this meeting? Has there been any changes there?
The DA has been very clear that we will not and cannot get involved in the internal workings of political parties. How they hold their representatives to account is entirely for them. We were also very clear that as much as we may have views on some individuals in the government, it's up to those political parties to deal with them. So, I think that there are some issues that need to be discussed around performance and around outcomes that are sometimes indifferent at best. But how parties deal with those individuals that are members of their party is up to them. And so we take no view on the NFP's internal disciplinary hearings around the MEC or what her status is. We still see that she is obviously an MEC, that her party, that in terms of the Constitution, she has not been removed from the legislature, and we approach that matter in that regard.
Yeah. As we conclude on this matter, can you say here tonight, apart from what you have stated above, that more engagements are needed, can you say here and now that the KZN GPU is on safe ground and it is not going to collapse?
I would term it as critical but stable. And I think that's why we really welcomed the bilateral that we had yesterday with the NFP. And I really want to express, in our view, the willingness to find a pathway to resolve this. And that's, very positive. That's more positive than we've been at any point in time of late. So I think that there's a lot of work to do. I think that there's a lot of discussion to be had. And we are committed to being a part of that process. We're committed to leading that process if necessary, because we believe that KZN's future is worth fighting for. And we think that a GPU with the NFP is exactly what KwaZulu-Natal needs.
Finally, Mr. McPherson, your party leader has been in the news for all of the wrong reasons when it comes to DA matters. And I want you to hear me well. You are a minister, he's a minister. We're not talking about your roles in government right now, but we are talking about the divisions that exist in the Democratic Alliance right now. Is John Steenhuisen still fit to lead the Democratic Alliance going into Congress this year, by the way, given all of what has been publicized about him and the handling of his own personal finances?
Well, let's look at what's been claimed, and let's look at who has made that claim. An individual who is no longer a member of this political party, who, if he strongly believed in his allegations, waited until after he was removed from his seat to then make those allegations. So, his principles, I think, are seriously in question. But let's put that to aside for a moment. Those claims were then duly investigated by a federal legal commission, which is a statute of our constitution, and John Steenhuisen was cleared of all of that. Now, I would like any person to point in any direction of a political party or a leader who has been as transparent and been investigated that John has through the Democratic Alliance's legal processes and then been cleared of it. And I think that that is to his credit that he has gone through that process. And really, I think that we are obviously going towards a Congress. People will have their views and their opinions, but we're a democratic party. We do not believe in anything that shuts people up or muzzles freedom of speech. So people will be able to cast their referendum on his leadership. But I think that his leadership has been one that took the DA into national government for the first time. I think he's led this party with distinction. He picked it up from its knees in 2019 when our former leader walked out on us. And I think that the party has a lot to be proud of under John Steenhuisen's leadership.
Dean McPherson, thank you very much for your time. He is the KZN chairperson of the Democratic